knocked loose. White dive on it.
This is twice now the Celtics have been first to the floor. They try to save with Horford. Unbelievable.
Boston first to the floor. So good. Brown fakes, fires up the three. Bang! Tatum dives on the floor. Everybody dives. Jaylen Brown with the flush. Blocked by Porzingis. He's doing it all. Tatum spinning, driving, layup. Got it. Washington drives. Blocked by White. Oh, what a block from Derek White.
Welcome into another episode of First to the Floor. Ben Vallis here. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're doing well. Shout out to the chat for joining us live here on YouTube and everyone else watching or listening to the pod later on. Alongside me here, Wayne Spooney and Jake Eisenberg, both giddy at the thought of more Celtics basketball right around the corner. Guys, how we doing?
We're coming, man. Well, wow. Way to start the pod off here.
Oh, we're coming, boys.
Yeah, I mean, that's facts there, right?
Yeah.
Very excited.
It feels fake. Part of me is like,
Yeah.
man, the championship's over, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the new season, we're not the champs anymore. But
No, we're
another
the
part of
champs.
me's like, let's watch some basketball. You know,
Yeah.
watch. I'm done writing about just hypothetical
Yeah.
bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to get into that, like just the general thoughts and feelings of like turning the page. But before we do, just earlier this week, we launched the First to the Floor Patreon. The link is in the description below, and that applies to the audio podcast apps as well. A couple of days ago, we dropped our first ever Patreon exclusive podcast where, as expected, we went a little deeper on things. We covered all the goss coming out of various team media days from across the league. We reacted to Draymond Green's day one back and forth with the press. And another thing we're doing is we're covering quite candidly our quest to get a Celtics player on this podcast. And as you can imagine, that's pretty complicated. There's a lot that goes into that. And we're bringing our Patreon subscribers along for the ride there as we continue what will probably continue to be a long and arduous journey to get a player on the podcast. But we've got some leads, and the only way you can get insights into what's going on there is to subscribe to the Patreon. I don't know, guys, any other tidbits you want to share on the Patreon in terms of what people can expect there?
It's good. I think, and what we're doing is like, because the Discord will have a ton of random discussions ranging from the 50 times we've talked about who's going to win the last rotation spot, which we're going to talk about today, but like random stuff like can the Hornets finish ahead of the Heat? Is Trae Young a dark horse? Random hot takes that should not see the public, even though I flamed Tice. We kind of flamed Tice by putting the take in a clip on Twitter. But so all the little conversations that happen in the Discord, just as another way to, to be part of the community.
Yeah, we're letting it fly on the Patreon podcast a little bit more, a little less produced, little less filter for the boys. So definitely check it out, please.
Uncensored. Absolutely. We do have a voicemail feature, which is paywalled. It's only available to Patreon subscribers and anyone who was in the Discord prior to the Patreon launch. And at the end of this podcast, we're going to get to 2 of the first voicemails that were left via that voicemail service. A couple other things very quickly. Spoonie's got a great piece up on Celtics blog about how Joe Mazzulla has molded the Celtics into executioners, which is a really fucking cool premise. Jake's got a piece up also on Celtics blog about Jaylen Brown's master strokes from a leadership perspective, which is really cool and insightful. The links are in the description as well, so go check them out. Show our guys some love. Do either of you have anything else in the pipeline coming up for Celtics blog?
I just submitted something on the Celtics having the most playoff experience by like a mile compared to every other team in the league. It was like astounding at how much more career playoff games the Celtics have played compared to like any of the other contenders. The only teams that are like close, like the Lakers and the Warriors, and they're not even contenders.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I'm writing about sort of the quest for history and like what it takes to be one of those all-time teams and like what the Celtics would need to do over the next couple of years to be considered an all-timer.
Hell yeah.
Awesome. Can't wait to check those out. And again, the links to all Jake and Spoonie's works on Celtics blog in the description below. Check them out. Now, let's get on to the preseason games over there in Abu Dhabi. First of all, it's a 14-hour flight. Also, LA to Sydney, also a 14-hour flight. NBA, get on it. We're just as close there as the UAE. So, you can ship the guys from Boston to LA, stay a couple of days in a nice hotel there, then get them over to Sydney. Anyway, I digress. Whatever. The schedule, Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern time, which is 2 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. That's the first game. And then Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 1 a.m. Australian Eastern Time. Basically, if you're in the US, you're now Australia in terms of your watching time.
Yes.
If you're in Australia, you're now Europe as far as your Australian time. And I think the Euros do quite well, longitudinally aligned with Abu Dhabi there. So I digress. Broadly speaking, guys, before we dive in a little deeper here, what are your general thoughts and feelings? We talked about turning the page, kicking off the preseason here in a day's time.
I feel like preseason ends up being like quite disappointing from like if you want to see your like the main guys play. It's all about like the back end of the rotation from memory. Like I remember like the biggest preseason moment being the Erotic City Celtics when it was like the Gordon Hayward team before he snapped his leg in half, and then it was just always trying to reclaim that magic. I think it was against the Hornets in preseason. We always seemed to play them in the preseason. So I'm excited to see like the end of the bench, see if Joe's like testing out any weird lineup stuff. But really, I'm just excited to see the green jersey running around on a basketball court.
Yeah. So I kind of the off season's kind of fun in some ways. Like you might get new players. Shit happens in the NBA league wide. But I'm ready for the season to start. At some point, there's kind of a dead zone. The cat trade gave us a little juice recently, but for the most part, it's been kind of a dead zone. And with that championship like on the mantle and done, I just feel so like free. Like the pressure is just like released, man. And it's not like this means so much to me, I'm going to die if it doesn't eventually happen. We're good. I'm not going to die. And now it's just about like how much fun can we really have? And that's the best part about it. Like this season, I think will be like way more fun than the last couple of years where it was like championship or bust. Now it's like, hey man, we got one. Now let's see if we can get multiple until the playoffs start. Then I'll obviously be a complete fucking mess. But the regular season's all gravy, boys.
I say that, but I'm already like the idea of losing opening night to the Knicks, would be a disaster because like even if we won every other matchup, it's just going to be like there's always going to be that little bit. But did you see that one time? Because that's always
Cat. Yeah,
it's always the way with this Celtics team is like every bad thing that they do is like 10x relative to the rest of the league. So and also like this is as much as it's gravy at the same time. This team, how long do we have like this insane talent advantage because of the CBA? Like this year in particular is like the guarantee to have that, and so there is pressure on this team as well. There's obviously like having the title, so no matter what, we always have one from this era. That's the most important thing. But yeah, it's starting to get a little bit greedy,
Dude, even if we lose to the Nuggets in a couple of days' time, people are going to be like, see how a real NBA champion gets it done? Unlike these like soft cakewalk Celtics. Yeah, exactly. That's definitely going to happen. But we're going to crush the Nuggets, which we'll get to. This offseason has been so fun from a rewatch perspective. Like any other prior offseason, like what are we going to do? Go back and watch the moment we got knocked out of the playoffs? No, thank you. But to be able to go back and watch various chapters of the postseason, understanding now with hindsight, like what that meant at that time in that juncture of the postseason has been a lot of fun. I think I'm on like rewatch number 7 of the finals since they ended, which is a lot of fun. But yeah, I guess, with that said, I'm ready for some new basketball. So the guys, they're over in Abu Dhabi at the moment. They arrived sometime yesterday. Joe Mazzulla said, was quoted about the travel, it's not really a challenge. You just adjust accordingly throughout the season. You do that as well. You just get started a little bit earlier when you travel. So it's not much different. It's also worth adding that Drew Holiday actually played preseason games in Abu Dhabi in 2022 with the Bucks. So last year, the Celtics, disappointingly, 0-2 in the Denver Cup. Let's start here. What are you expecting from the starters here? Let's just talk about, I guess we can talk about both games. We don't have to isolate them. What are you expecting from the starters? Is Joe Mazzulla going to do something crazy here and like fuck with the rotations in like game 1 of the preseason? Or is he just going to play it straight up?
real quick, thank you, Happy Hour Network,
Yeah.
for the super chat. Jumped in the car, so you're live and got stoked. You guys are the best. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks.
Second,
Yeah.
it's not really a challenge, Joe Mazzulla says. Like, he just can't even admit, like, a
I know.
14-hour flight sucks. Like, he can't
Yes.
even bring himself to be like, yeah, whatever, it's preseason, it's going to be kind of a pain in the ass. He's like, it's not a challenge, it's just what you do every day, and we got to get better. So that's the best. You just adjust
Yeah.
course. You just got to wake up a little earlier. That's all it is.
Yeah, you think that's a challenge? Have you tried being choked out for 3 hours straight? That's a challenge.
Yeah.
Have you seen our private plane? Not
Yeah.
a challenge. Which I would argue, it's like, how much of a challenge is it really?
Have you asked your jiu-jitsu instructor to literally kill you and then bring you back with an EKG machine? Didn't think so. That's a challenge. So I think that
You fucking snowflakes.
yeah.
the starting
God.
lineup. I don't think he's gonna do anything weird. I think he's just gonna go with the guards, the Jays, and Al Horford in that first game. I'm interested to know, like, see how many minutes the Jays, especially, but all the starters will really get, because this is kind of a showcase, right? Like,
True.
we're going over to Abu Dhabi to spread the word about how great NBA basketball is. Is there some pressure from up top, from the league, to be like, play those guys? Joe Mazzulla does not seem like the guy who would give in to that type of pressure. So I'm not sure, but I think ultimately with the starting lineup, he's just gonna be rote, be regular. I think we might see some goofy lineups though that we will never see again in the season.
This is a good point from the Jam Boy in the chat here. Saudi PP greater than Pro-Am PP. If you want a showcase, this is who you put in the fucking game.
Oh, yeah.
Is Peyton Pritchard, because this is his wheelhouse. Preseason, March basketball, summer league, Saudi Arabia hoops. Like, this might be his final form, honestly.
Please, God.
Get him out there, get him fully engorged, get him ready to go. I think this is because I know Jayson Tatum quite well. It's the idea of him playing hard and playing well in this type of game does not seem likely to me. Same with Jokic, by the way.
Yeah. I think Joe plays it pretty straight up, and we just see like heavy-ish minutes for the starters in the first half, and then we basically don't see them at all in the second. We'll comment from Eric Weiss in the chat. Like, it is a league showcase, so the stars will play, of course, and like I think a huge objective for the Celtics, and again, this is commonplace in all preseasons, is just like, can you rediscover that rhythm, in this case for the Celtics, like that June rhythm? Can you at least set yourself up on the pathway to rediscovering that rhythm? And then, hopefully Al Horford, if he plays at all, it can be measured in seconds rather than minutes, would be my wish going in.
I was going to ask you guys, what's the number that you just say, Joe, what are you doing? Like, what number are you comfortable with, and what's like your red alert number?
30.
2-3 minutes, 30 seconds.
Yeah,
Seconds?
10. Yeah. I think if they play 30 minutes, it's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
But anything under that, it's like,
I mean, for
get
Horford
it.
specifically.
Oh, sorry, for Horford. Sorry.
You're good.
Yeah,
Is he
I
even
think it
there?
would been 5 minutes. Yeah, 20.
Double
I think
digits?
20. Like 15 to 18, I think is probably fine. And then
Yeah.
if he's at 25, it's like, what are we doing, Joe? Chill out.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I think double digits would be like 11 minutes for Horford. If I see that in the box score, I think that's you can play 11 first half Horford minutes and that's not see him in the second half. And then and then 12 in the second game. Perfect.
Yeah.
And then with Jokic, it just doesn't matter because his feet don't leave the ground, and he's a weird, pudgy Iron Man. Look, I think after the starters play their initial first half minutes, then it's like Pritchard, Hauser, maybe a little Baylor Scheierman, they come in, and then it's showtime, which leads to the question, which unexpected bench hero would cause the splooshiest of splooshes? Just fangasm, Celtics-gasm, whatever you want to call it, where you're just like, oh my God, yes. Like, obviously we're going to see a bit of the starters. What we really are interested in is what we haven't seen yet, which is like, how have the deep bench pieces improved over the offseason? What does Baylor Scheierman look like among other NBA players? What's going to give you the most excitement bench-wise?
I mean,
Go Speedy.
it's got to be Walshy, right?
Oh, yes. Here we go.
this
I did
show-
in the chat.
Yeah.
Like, and the thing about Walshy is like, there's extra pressure built up, at least not for him, really, realistically, but like for us, yeah, for the sickos, because he was not very good in summer league, and it's
Yeah.
now like, we can delete that from our memories if you go like 4 for 7 in the preseason game. I don't care if it's garbage time. I don't care if it's against a two-way guy and a dude on Exhibit 10. Like, just give us a little something, Walshy, like a big Walshy chase down block or something. Sploosh Factory. Come on. I mean, it's got to be Walshy, right?
Look,
So
Walsh Island got hit by a hurricane in the offseason, and we don't have the infrastructure here on Walsh Island yet. It's very underdeveloped. We don't have the infrastructure to deal with it. We're currently living in tents as we rebuild, so we really need a burst from Walsh there, and coming out like, I don't know, 5 of 7 from 3 while getting a couple of stops on the other end. Please, sorry, Jake, I interrupted you.
No.
That's where my mind's at.
I think as definitely as far as first the floor audience goes, like I think Walsh is going to be at the top of the list. Like if he goes nuts, that's going to be the most exciting. Like we've just been building this up since Spoonie called the draft picks before the draft show.
Yes.
Absolutely wet call there. But I do think broadly, if someone like goes off, that's going to have like the biggest reaction from not just Celtics fans, but around the NBA, is going to be Lonnie Walker. Because when Lonnie Walker got signed, everybody around them was like, how did the Celtics get Lonnie Walker on this deal? Of course they get this. Now that he's going to be the next success story under the Brad Stevens tutelage in Boston here. And so if he like has a steal, attacks a closeout, posterizes freaking Jokic or something like that, which is like totally possible. So he can obviously get hot from 3 as well. So I think if Lonnie Walker has like a crazy game, I think that's going to have massive effects across the sploosh horizon of the NBA. Sploosh Mountain.
Yeah, I love that. And that's going to send waves through the NBA as well. And so immediately it gives a Schadenfreude report material where it's just like capturing the reactions from other fan bases, like how did Brad Stevens and the Celtics do this again, which was kind of the initial reaction when they did sign Lonnie Walker to that Exhibit 10, a month or so ago now. But there's so many, like you can make the case for so many bench guys, I think, and this is more pivoting back to like exclusively the Celtics fan perspective, but like what if Sam Hauser comes in and is like pump faking closeouts and sending closeouts into the stands and pulling up for those delicious wet middies? What if you say like Pro MP just takes over in the second half? What if Scheierman comes in and goes like 12, 7, and 6 and just like flashes the all-around game?
Oh, yeah.
We mentioned Walshy. What about Xavier Tillman with a repaired knee? What if he is just like everywhere defensively and like has way more lateral quickness and it's just displaying that side of things? There's so many ways you can slice it.
You get me pumped, dude.
I know, right?
Preseason, baby.
Tilly's game isn't really like sploosh material, though. You know what I mean? It's like very nuanced. It's
like a drizzle
play.
That 3 in the finals. My carpet is still wet.
True, the 3 in the finals, yeah.
Tillman 3.
Like, yeah. Whew. And I feel the same way about Anton Watson. It's like he's going to carve his role out just like doing the right things and not really being noticed. And that's how Tillman is to me, where I think Lonnie Walker's a great one because he can do like some crazy sploosh. And Scheierman, like, is he just like, I'm pulling up from 33 feet. I don't give a shit.
God.
We're in Abu Dhabi. Like, they don't even have alcohol here. Like, who cares? I don't know. Maybe. I can totally see that. Yeah, this is impossible. How do people do this? So, but with Tilly, who I love, and I think he's going to be really good this year, it's not like, oh, wow, Tillman had a rim grazing dunk. Like, wow, we're going crazy, you know?
Yeah, pump fake in the post, little baby hook. Yeah, and similar like I think the sickos as well. Like there might be some splooshes among the sickos when it comes to Anton Watson because is he going to get the offense moving? Is he going to have some sweet handoffs and really play a fluid offensive game that ripples out to the rest of the offense? And it's like, oh my god, I can see this guy playing in the regular season already. That's that's going to be in the Celtics blogosphere sploosh material. But yeah, not necessarily going to be something that makes it into like NBA Ringer group chat is Anton Watson's handoff game.
Well, look, if you want to sit down in the sploosh zone, you should join Jake Eisenberg on the playback stream, playback.tv/Celtics blog. The link is below in the description. Jake, you're going to be hosting watch parties for both preseason games there in Abu Dhabi?
Yeah, both preseason games we're going to be there. So it's going to be me and Nate from Twitter and now of Celtics blog, Nate.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
Pull Up Shoot. If you know him as like, the highlight guy on Twitter, he's awesome. So he's going to be joining me for the first game. And then Eric Weiss, he's going to be there for the second playback game. So that's 1 a.m. my time. So I'll be relying on Eric's energy, which I know he always has in the second one as well. But so, super excited. Going to be there for playback, and it's good to get that up and running again.
Yeah, awesome. That's great. All right, well, we're going to come back in a moment and talk about how both benches how both benches match up as I completely brain fart here as we throw to an ad. But first, a quick word from our friends over at Game Time.
Alrighty, West Virginia University football just lost an absolute heartbreaker to our biggest rival, University of Pittsburgh, on this last Saturday. That just means WVU's primed to make a comeback this season. I'll be using Game Time to go to the next WVU game and watch them make their way to the Big 12 title, hopefully. Game Time has this new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Game Time's not just great for sports. I was looking at tickets for one of my favorite bands, Lake Street Dive, who's playing in Pittsburgh in October. Super easy. Jumped on Game Time, typed in the band name, found the show. They had a super deal on floor tickets that actually made them cheaper than general admission. One of my favorite features too is the all-in pricing that you can toggle on, which shows you the full price of the ticket before you go to checkout. No surprise fees at checkout. And definitely check out those Game Time picks. They curate the events to make it easier for you to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Woo!
Thanks to Game Time for sponsoring the First of the Floor podcast, and shout out to CLNS as well for presenting the First of the Floor podcast and YouTube show. Guys, the benches, we're going to see a lot of benches on both sides in both games, I think. How do you think, just broadly speaking, the benches match up? Because it's going to be a lot of bench v bench in probably both second halves, I'd say.
I mean, I think the Celtics bench all a little bit here because I know I'm so confident in the system of the Celtics at this point. Like, how many times did we have teams that come in for the Celtics? Like, we would blow the other team out, and we called them, the Pritchard's the net rating protector, and he would come in and extend these leads a lot of the time. And so, like, who's going to be the guys at the end of the bench that are still playing? Cornette's probably still going to be out there for a part of it. So Pritchard, Cornette, Baylor obviously was a high draft pick. For us, like, I can see them actually being pretty competent still. I get Denver has like a couple of young guys that played for them, but at the same time, like, is Christian Brown going to be out there late? Probably not. So you got like Strother, Peyton Watson. He might even be too good for them to be out there late as well. So it's like, what's his name? Jalen Pickett, who they drafted last year, the Dayron Holmes, who we loved in the draft, tore his Achilles straight up this season, so he won't be out there either. Like, the Nuggets are not deep. That's like the biggest knock on them as contenders this year. And so we're going to see maybe someone emerges for them at the end of their bench that we're not really thinking about. And I'm not really locked in on like Hunter Tyson and Gabe McLaughlin like I am with Jordan Walsh and Anton Watson. So maybe I'll be surprised. But yeah, man, we're going to roll these boys.
we're gonna see a lot of Vlatko Kankar probably. Yeah. Like, I mean, after Peyton, yeah. Well, I mean, like, is Zeke too good though? I mean, he has like a real role. Yeah, I mean, yes, but is he too good for like fourth quarter of a preseason game in Abu Dhabi? Maybe. Our bench is just basically a well-oiled machine at this point. We had one of the best, I think, one of the highest scoring and the best net rating benches in the league last year. And like the biggest knock on the Nuggets, like you said, Jake, is their bench. I don't know who dribbles the ball for this bench unit because it's all like wings and power forward size guys. I guess Trey Alexander, who is Baylor's teammate at Creighton.
This guy.
And he's on a two-way, and that's like basically the guard they have off the bench, unless you think Russell Westbrook's going to be out there in the fourth quarter, but I highly doubt it. So Maybe
He's gonna want to be.
Yeah, probably. It's just like a who's who of. They are really just scratching a bunch of lottery tickets and praying like two of these guys hit. And that's an incredibly dangerous way to build a championship level team's bench. And it's something the Celtics have kind of done, but done it slowly and smartly. And so like Pritchard and Hauser have now evolved into like two of the better bench players in the entire NBA. And the Nuggets just like don't have that guy. And I'm not a Russell Westbrook, or at least this version of Westbrook. I'm definitely not a fan of his game now. So yeah, we're going to slaughter him.
Did Peyton Watson kind of fall out of favor with like the Nuggets coaching staff as the season went on last year? Is he going to be maybe getting extra minutes fighting for playing time there?
Maybe. He shot 29% from three, so that's a quick way to lose your rotation spot.
Yeah.
Wealthy numbers.
It was wild how he just did not get a chance to play in that Wolves series when it felt like they were just like desperate for anyone that could give them a spark at times in that series. But because like in the 2 games against the Celtics last season, he was like really good. Yeah. And hit a bunch of jump shots, which is infuriating in the same way that Jamal Murray hit like every fadeaway jump shot in that game in Boston as well. So, yeah, and they need him. So, yeah, like they're probably going to give him some run just because like they're going to need to play guys. Before he fell out of the rotation, I was kind of comparing like, can Jordan Walsh turn into like the wing version of what Peyton Watson was doing for the Nuggets? Just like this hyper athletic ball of energy defensive playmaker with like some offensive upside at the same time, just based on their athleticism and tools, with the shooting being more of a question. Jordan Walsh has proved to be like a better shooter than Watson so far. So that could be that's definitely fun. And like he is a good showcase player as well. Watson, just like get these hyper athletes out there. He plays with a lot of juice, which is fun.
Yeah, it's a fun part of the game, those preseason second halves, I think. It's like maybe it's more of a nerdy chunk to bite off, but it's more like system versus system, execution versus execution when there's no big names out there. The thing is, like, obviously the Nuggets system is so tied to Nikola Jokic. Like, how does that look for significant stretches when he's on the bench? We've seen prior regular seasons, like, not very good. And, like, unfortunately in the Denver Cup last year, we struggled to win the non-Jokic minutes. So I'm excited to see how that plays out in the preseason. The O'Shea Brissett, the Brissy Memorial Power Rankings from the brain of Jake Eisenberg. Yes. Who do we think is going to see the Brissy minutes this season? O'Shea, he averaged 11.5 minutes per game last year, which obviously fluctuated a great deal as the season progressed. Jake, I'll throw to you here. Who do you think is going to take on those O'Shea minutes to begin with?
I was just counting the amount of games that O'Shea Brissett played where he played at least 15 minutes, and I had the number counted, and then I started talking, and then I forgot. So I think it's around 20 games where he played at least 15 minutes or more. So he played 630 total minutes last season. A lot of that obviously came in garbage time, but like 20-ish games where he played like a real role in a team. And that's the only guy that left this team from last season that played like an actual role in the rotation. Like, sorry to Svi Mihailovic, like who also left, but like he never really played on the team consistently. So I think there's one spot in the rotation kind of up for grabs. Like obviously Porzingis is out, but we obviously expect Tillman and Cornette to take the majority of those minutes with Cater filling in. The one mystery going into the preseason and the season is who is going to take the Brissett minutes. And I don't think it necessarily needs to be a big forward like Brissett because of the versatility that Jaylen and Jayson give you. I think it can. So if you want to power rank who we think it's going to be before the preseason start with all the information we have right now, I hate to say it because I'm not this guy's biggest fan. Just reading the tea leaves, I feel like it's Jaden Springer. I feel like Springer is at the top of the power ranking between like playing Summer League, having an awesome one game, and then shutting him down, being like, yeah, we kind of know what we have with you and we're comfortable with what we've seen. They haven't traded him yet with the $4 million contract, which like is like the one move that they could potentially make to bring in a smaller salary. The tool, like, what does Joe want, right? Can you execute the defensive game plan? And can you shoot? Those are like the two things I think that he's looking for. Obviously, Brissett didn't have the shooting aspect, but he was providing some other stuff offensively. But that's who I probably have at the top of my list right now, and then we can kind of filter through after that. Do you guys have anyone else at the top of your power rankings of who you project? Not who I want, who are projecting to take that spot?
Go ahead, Ben.
I think the easy-ish answer is Lonnie Walker. And obviously with Springer, like it helps that he actually is signed. He has like an official roster spot, and Lonnie's obviously coming in on that X10 deal. But I was thinking about like what did we call upon from O'Shea when he got like spot minutes throughout the season? What did we need when we called him in? It's like basically a spark plug. And in his case, it was tenacious defense, obviously some hellish rebounding. I don't think we have anyone that can come in and give us the same punch off the bench, like that specific punch or skill set. So I think the easy answer is Lonnie because it's the scoring punch that he can give you. Yes, Springer can come in and probably fill the defensive shoes schematically much better than Lonnie has proven in his career so far. But it's like who can come in with the biggest impact and sort of force the opposition to reconsider their approach to that juncture of the game. And I think Lonnie's, force from a scoring standpoint would be the most seismic, I think. So it's Lonnie for me.
Yeah, I wonder what Joe is going to prioritize, right? Because like Lonnie could be a total game changer when he's got it going, but he's also going to make mistakes on both sides of the ball that Joe probably does not like. So is he going to prioritize like X factor, like this guy's got to play 15, 20 minutes tonight because people are resting or sick or hurt? Let's see what he can do. Maybe he gets hot and wins us the game or wins us a quarter. Or is he going to prioritize like this dude won't screw up? Maybe he makes a couple shots tonight because then if that's the case, it's obviously Jaden Springer. Mm-hmm. I was leaning towards Springer as well, but I really want it to be Lonnie Walker because I'm just not a fan of Jaden Springer's game at all. And I think a dialed in Lonnie Walker has some defensive upside we've never really seen from him before. But I think if I had to say who's the front runner, Jaden Springer with a slight edge, and then I think Lonnie Walker's kind of the clear two, and then it's sort of like a gap after those two guys.
Mm-hmm. I actually want it to be Springer. From the Schadenfreude perspective alone, that we poached him from the Sixers, and then he becomes a valuable rotation piece with trade potential as well, like a very, very valuable piece there. Yeah. But yeah, defensively, he's obviously more capable than Lonnie Walker, but just the shooting, at large sample sizes, at volume, hasn't been proven yet.
I want it to be Lonnie, absolutely. Like the upside of Lonnie Walker relative to any of these other guys is in a different stratosphere, I think, compared to Baylor. Like just purely on the athleticism and what Lonnie Walker has proven he's capable of in the NBA already. Like he swung a second round playoff series on his own against the Golden State Warriors. Like that's a thing that happened already in real life. This is not a projection. Like he can be a flamethrower offensively, elite athleticism and tools. So like the upside of Lonnie, I think, is completely different to what is offered from Springer or Baylor. But so what do you want though in that role? Do you want floor? Because like you can easily make an argument for a floor from that guy in this roster on this Celtics team because like the team is so talented outside of that. All you need is guys to come in and just be fine. And you're going to continue to rack up W's. But so I think we can, but like also we don't even know if Lonnie's going to make the team. That's why I can't have him at one. That's why I can't have him at one right now. It's just because like I don't even know if you're going to make the team. Having him in as the 15th roster spot when we don't even know if they're going to keep a 15th man seems hard for me to put him there. So, okay, I think we all want Lonnie to be the guy if we're doing like what we want power rankings. At number 2, I feel like it's Baylor to me, just because I think he gives you a mix of both. And tea leaf wise, I don't think it's been positive. It feels like he's like destined to spend a bunch of time in Maine. But at the same time, if he has been able to, work on his body, get a little quicker defensively, and he's able to, he seems like a really smart player from everything we've watched and learned so far about him. Like it wouldn't surprise me if he comes in and he's pretty capable with executing the defensive game plan. And then if he's offering legit shooting, then can he just leapfrog Springer immediately just by being a pretty capable offensive player? That's where I lean. And Walsh, I can't put him up there. But yeah, I think I got Baylor probably at 2 here.
Or at 3? Behind
I don't know
Lonnie's just off the board.
I don't know how I could put Lonnie up off if I don't know if he's going to make the team.
He's not on the team. Yeah, that's
point,
fair.
Good point. Real quick in the chat, we're not forgetting about Tillman. We're just kind of saying the center rotation is the center rotation.
Yeah,
he's established. Yeah.
We're talking about the backup wing, like the guys who don't have a clear role right now.
He's
So-
taking all the Porzingis minutes are going to go to Tillman, basically.
yeah, right. So
Spoonie, well, if you had to guess, who's going to jump out of the gates quicker? Is it going to be the Scheierman or is it going to be Jordan Walsh?
I had a different guy than either of those
Oh!
for the third spot.
Anton!
Yeah. Anton Watson.
Let's
man.
go!
Yes!
He's got the size, he's got
Yes.
the smarts, and the shooting has held, man. Like he really improved as a shooter his senior year at Gonzaga, and he shot the ball really well in summer league. And like if that's real at all, he knows how to play basketball. Like you talk about executing the defensive scheme, he can absolutely execute the defensive scheme. And he's a really smart, sound offensive player. So if the shooting's real, I think I might even have Watson 1 if the shooting is like somewhat real. So I love this dude. Like I think he's going to be like really, really solid. But I would have Watson over at least Walsh at this point. I think Scheierman might have the head start because he's the first round pick instead of the 56th pick in the draft, which matters, or 58th pick, whatever it was. So if I'm predicting who it is, I think it's probably Baylor. But if it were me, I'm giving Anton the shot first.
Yeah, dream scenario. Anton Watson just comes out and just cooks immediately, and like the skill set is just like an excellent fit straight away. And we're getting vibes of like, I don't know when Al Horford's going to retire. It could be like 10 years from now, but when it does, we've got a somewhat of a replacement skill set, at least bubbling up there, you know, from the perspective of a second round pick. And yeah, with Scheierman, it's like I would just love for Brad Stevens to just absolutely like hit smash on his first round pick. And with so many of these guys, and you know, I think Summer League left a lot into question there, and I think, you know, if you had to guess, and you guys have already sort of said this, like you're probably more towards the side of playing in Maine, more so than the Maine boys roster to begin with. But a lot of these times, like you just don't know until you see it, right? And so for him to come out and actually just like seem effective in an NBA context would be really good. But we haven't seen that much, I think, yet to have any confidence there. But I'd certainly be hoping for that. What about, this is total bullshit, but bear with me, Dmitro Skapenstev, the backup training camp C, the Tristan Vukcevic replacement?
Of a
I'm kidding.
long
I'm kidding.
Skapenstev guy. I'm a huge
Yes.
fan. Yeah.
Big
I'm like-
Skapenstev. I've got the jersey on its way.
Cal State.
Sorry, Jake.
Dude, I'm like going through Getty Images today to find a picture for the story I'm doing, and I've got to like go through all of like the white background and player in front, and I'm like, I had to get through whoever this guy was and all these guys that I'm like, who are these people that are on the Celtics that I just can't recognize? And what is his name? How did you say it? Dmitro Skapenstev.
That's the one. That's my guy.
I'm sure that's how he pronounces it as well. Yeah,
Nailed it.
that'd be cool. That'd be awesome. I would love for there to be like the most random dude that takes the mantle here.
Yeah, he may not play.
Question for you guys on Walshy. Yeah, Skapenstev may not play, Ben. That's a bold prediction, buddy. But, on Walshy, like, what do you think? Can he even do enough in the preseason to like steal this role? Like,
Yeah.
You think so? Like, what does it
think
need
so.
to look like?
I think he needs to prove that he can defend. I think that's been the biggest issue with me so far. Has been like, where is the defense that was like his main thing coming out of college? And I know people have talked about like maybe in summer league he was trying to do too much. He was tasked with like trying to be like the defensive coordinator on the court. Can you just go out there and like defend Julian Strother effectively? Like, don't get caught on screens, or if you are going to get caught, use that length, recover, and make some plays. I think if he can prove that he's impacting the game defensively, I'm still like pretty confident offensively that from what I've seen flashes wise, like he can just stand in the corner, either shoot threes or drive closeouts and then make an easy pass. Or what I love about him, he at least just tries to dunk on people. Just try and dunk on people or make the easy pass. So like I do think that he can do it, but I would be very surprised.
Is it almost panic time for Walshy as well? Like, is he at the point
No.
where, at least in terms of his role or future role on this team, like he does need to kind of start showing again that he has those capabilities, because we feel like we haven't seen it in a while, or it's like he's like, what, 20 years old? He's got a little bit longer before he can really shine.
Yeah, he's 4 years younger than Baylor Scheierman. Like, it's not panic time with Walshy, even if he doesn't look that great. But like, we're gonna panic. Like, if he looks bad, I'm definitely
now.
gonna fucking panic. Yeah, right. I'm panicking just thinking about him failing. Never mind if he actually does. But yeah, like, he's had trouble like staying in front of guys, which is kind of like unfortunate considering that was kind of his build, like big wing that could stay in front of guys, is switchable, long arms, all that good stuff. So yeah, I think it will be really hard for him because, like, even if he shoots like 4 of 7 from 3 every game, it's gonna be like, well, is that even really real? Like, that's not how he's gonna win his spot. I think you're spot on, Jake. It's like, show that you're actually the level of defender we thought you were, and don't be dumb on offense. Like, make the right decision consistently. And I think even if he goes 0 for 5 from 3, I think that's got a better chance of him carving a rollout than if he just gets hot for a couple games halfway across the world.
Yeah, we already figured out the shooting loophole as fans. As long as he's shooting them confidently, it doesn't actually matter if they go in,
Right.
Because the sample size is too small. It's like the willingness to shoot them, the shot form looks good, and then we can convince ourselves that everything, the misses and the makes are irrelevant. And so, yeah, like it's but just defend. But yeah, it's a good point, man. Like in the chat here, like he's just too skinny right now. Like it's, he was like the same age, arc of Tatum coming into the league, and when Tatum came in skinny, he like was clearly strong and capable of coming in and playing at a high level defensively immediately. So Walsh, and like from what I've seen from the pictures, definitely not someone that was working out with Jaylen, I don't think, in the offseason, like, which is good. You don't want him to like gain too much weight too fast. And I'm sure he did get stronger and he has been working on that stuff. But yeah, he's probably another 2 years away from like being strong enough to be a wing. Like, he's not a guard. Like, he needs to be able to defend like 3s and 4s at times. And that's just not something he's probably ready to do yet. Unless I'm wrong. Have you noticed?
We'll see. Definitely a role up for grabs there in the form of the O'Shea minutes. So, yeah, great thing to bring up here, Jake. And maybe the number one thing to look out for, other than, like, can Jayson Tatum shoot again, which we're all dying to see. Anything else on preseason, guys, before we finish up with these voicemails?
Just Tillman's knee, I think, is something to keep an eye on. Just like, he had the scope. Sounds like he's fine. But, I think his health is, like, something to monitor. And so does he look good switching and just playing in general? I think that's like something to keep in mind as well.
For sure. Spoonie's cat makes it. I was actually going to ask you, Spoonie, if your cat died, because we haven't seen Cookie make an appearance in quite a while, but there she is.
I've been pretty aggressive with her recently, like keeping her away outside the perimeter. Yeah, that's a great point on Tillman's knee. Like, we need him for the first part of the season at the very least. So it'll be interesting to see how he looks. But I think he's going to be good. I think I'm hopeful Tilly's going to look just fine, be switching like a madman and rim grazing, dunking, and baby hook shots all day.
Splashing threes. Yeah. Can't wait to see it. Yeah, I mean, it seemed fairly minor. Like, he was obviously able to play through it, and then a scope is like the least invasive sort of procedure you can get around the knee. Take it from me, many knee scopes in my life and other more invasive surgeries. So hopefully he's fine. By all reports, he's ready to go. So I'm excited to see. Now, we tease the voicemails, which you can only access as far as leaving us a voicemail if you are subscribed to the Patreon. The link is below in the description. We're going to get to, I guess this is our first ever voicemail in the Discord from McLean9, and then we've got some reactions coming up.
I've been waiting for this moment all my life, baby. I love the pod. I love you guys. You're the best. I would probably be roasting the other teams several times during the regular season. But for right now, I want for you guys to tell Ben and convince Ben to put back the "I love the Celtics" chant at the end of the pod. That was your calling card. As great as the pod is, and as much as I love listening to the pod, I waited for the whole pod to end just for that calling card at the end, just for that chant. I love the Celtics. That was the best. Please bring it back, okay? I've already made that comment on the YouTube channel at one of the videos to Ben, and I'm reiterating that point right here. Please bring that back. I've been waiting for this moment.
All right, so do you guys know what he's talking about? I've got a quick example here in case you're new to the show and you don't know what McLean is talking about. Spoonie, Jake, love your work, guys. Until next time, go Celtics.
I love the Celtics!
Okay, so the reason that I got rid of that, and I didn't run it past you guys before I did so apologies, was that a little look behind the curtain. When we're playing videos here in StreamYard, you can see the little boxes of everyone who's guesting on the show or hosting the show below the main screen. And I was a little perturbed by the reactions or non-reactions to like some guests we had on the show where it was like chill vibes, chill outro, thanks for joining us, here's where you can find your socials, blah, blah, blah. And then one of the villains from Home Alone comes in and just like yells out, I love the Celtics really loudly. And there were a lot of eyebrow raises and a lot of like, maybe I won't come back kind of vibes from me. So that's why we got rid of it. I don't know. Do you think we should bring it back?
Yes.
This is a classic, man. I love it, dude. It's just like, because you can barely see the people's faces from here. I can just, and it's just like, has anyone ever not come back? I guess would be if we're going to just go straight to the data here. There's been I can't think of anyone. Cedric Maxwell. But he couldn't even. I mean, did he even see us on the screen? I'm not even sure. I think bring it back. I know Greeny loves it, so what does the chat think? We got mostly people saying bring it back in the chat here. So
all right. Watch this space.
I think we got to do it.
Let's get to one from RJ very quickly, and then we'll wrap up the show.
Just a reminder, everybody, only you can prevent First Take and other shows of their ilk by not watching them. This is RJ. Thanks for getting the voicemail set up, guys. And looking forward to Friday in Abu Dhabi. Take care.
Love it. Thanks, RJ. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if you guys can spruik the voicemail feature better than I've done so far. We want to try and allure as many Patreon subscribers as possible or existing Discord users to leave voicemails for us.
Look, I think the voicemail will rack up once the season gets started. Once the emotions start flying and we can get some angry or elated people, depending on how the season starts, I think is when these things will start to actually filter in. But yeah, man, just come in here. You got thoughts. And the more emotion, the better. Just get in there, let it fly. It's great.
Yeah, and if they're overreactions, that's fine. We all have our overreactions.
Exactly.
Like, we do it. Like if it's like, Tatum can't shoot, he's terrible, when he goes like 1 for 7 in a loss against the Nuggets or something. That's what we want. We want that. We'll talk you off the cliff. That's the whole point. So yeah, and have fun with it, man. Like if it's goofy, if it's like out of the box a little bit, like we may not use it, but please, like, try stuff. We'll see. Yeah. Like we're all learning together with the voicemail feature.
Yeah, even if we don't use it on the show, we'll definitely listen to all of them and laugh maniacally behind the scenes.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, thanks to those who have left voicemails so far. Looking forward to hearing some future ones. That's going to do it for this one. Jake Eisenberg, like we said, is firing up the Celtics blog playback room for all the preseason games.
We're back.
Jake, for the uninformed Jake, what can people expect from the playback streams?
Oh, I should have uploaded something, but man, it's just like watching the game. It's like a mix between watching the game at the bar with your friends and like watching the game with this like kind of like a podcast vibe to it a little bit, like in between the timeouts, half times. But really, like when the game's going, especially once we get to the regular season, it's a lot of emotion, a lot of vibes, and a lot of yelling. It's like, talk about uncut. A lot of ass to throat. From if you missed that call out from last year, then that's on you. You got to get in there for this year's playback.
Yeah, man, playoffs last year were a vibe. All right, next time you hear from us, the Celtics will have hopefully destroyed the Nuggets. Until then, thank you so much for joining us, Spoonie, Jake. We'll get to this comment very quickly. Is there anywhere to watch the full game replays? Little plug for the Patreon.
Yeah, I was going to say now offering all the playback replays if you are on the Patreon. So that's a new thing for this year.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. Spoonie, Jake, love your work, guys. Until next time, go Celts.